Aloha, Aina, good afternoon, everyone. While we're waiting for everyone to get in and get settled, now is a good time to grab anything you need to get comfortable, or perhaps you'd like to take a step outside. And while you're doing so, I am going to talk a little bit about what it is that we do here at our 4 p.m. Cultural posts every Thursday at 4 p.m. At least for the time being, we are doing a series of what we call culture and Aina. And this is a way that we use or reflect on nature, our natural landscapes, all of the beautiful things that the Creator and nature provide us for our wellness. This is also a time for us to really be able to honor our cultural traditions, our custom, and our ancestry. Aloha, my name is Malia. I'm a community healer at the HIR Wellness Institute. We are a non-profit organization that focuses on the mental health and wellness of our relatives of Turtle Island and also other Indigenous and underserved communities, as well as victims of crime. You can join me on our wellness videos every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. for our reflections and resilience. And here on Thursdays, at least for a couple more sessions, we will be honoring the land and we will be honoring nature. I would like to take a moment to recognize our HIR Wellness team member that is here with us. We have one of our intern counselors, Odessa. Thank you so much, Odessa, for joining us. Forrest, I see you as well. Fantastic to see you. Wonderful to see you, Forrest. It's been a minute. I want to check in and see how everyone's doing. Do feel free to let us know. You can share. I want to remind you, relatives, this is a safe place for you to ask questions, comment, share your insight. We can always honor your ancestry and where you're from. We can honor your culture. No matter what color of the rainbow you are, no matter where you hail from in this geographic locations of the diversity of this beautiful planet. So if you want to, feel free to shout out where you're from or where, what your cultural ancestry is. I am Native Hawaiian and I do love to share about the lunar phases. So I will do that today before we go as well. I want to let you know right now I'm in my front yard in southeastern Wisconsin. The weather is absolutely gorgeous. It's not too hot. It's not cold. I'm laying on my tummy in my lawn and I kind of want to give you a view of what I'm seeing right now. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out. I am really at a low level right here on my belly. So looking around, again, laying on my tummy. So all these plants that we're seeing are actually quite low to the ground. And I want to talk a little bit about what it is that you're seeing here. So last Halloween, I purchased a pumpkin and I chose not to throw that pumpkin away. This is the beauty of nature. I literally did nothing for this pumpkin except not discard it. So I put it in the soil. We have a flower bed right against the house. This flower bed is very small. It's in an L shape going around the corner of the house. It's quite literally probably 3 feet on the longest part right here you can see in the front, and then just around the corner it's maybe 2 feet. So yes, very narrow. And what we're looking at here is the results of that pumpkin that I threw in the soil. It spread quite far. So I'll go ahead and let you take a look. You can see one pumpkin, relatives. One pumpkin. It even came up along here. It came up along the lilac bush. It actually clung on. You can see it. It clung onto the lilac bush. And it is making its way upwards towards the sky. You can see the size of the leaves here. Quite large. I have long hands, long fingers. I'm tall. I'm almost 6 foot tall. I have very long hands. So you can see how huge these leaves are. The leaves themselves are quite prickly underneath. On top they're kind of fuzzy, but then underneath they kind of they feel rough. And then when you look close to the vein of the pumpkin underneath, you can see that there's these prickers. Now there's literally hundreds of maybe not hundreds, maybe about 100 blossoms that I've seen. You can kind of see that they've closed up for the day, or these are kind of just done. But what's interesting is these have been blossoming for at least a month now, quite possibly longer. And I actually got to the point where I was thinking that maybe these the bees weren't going to pollinate them. I was worried that there was no bees. Honestly, right now I don't see any, but it's late in the day and the blossoms are closed up. The flowers are quite huge, but finally today I was so relieved. Right here. Here's a pumpkin. Squash flowers are edible. I just leave the flowers on because I really, really want pumpkins. And we'll always keep up to date the status of this pumpkin. And like I said, probably about 100 pumpkin blossoms. And of those 100 blossoms I've seen, that is one of only 2 that I have discovered out here. But you never know, because this is a very sprawling patch for having just been one pumpkin. So I'm sure there's probably another one hiding in here. The reason I share all these, the growth, the beauty of my garden, is because really, to me, this is our connection to our land space. When we talk about mana, and I'll always talk about mana, that's part of my cultural beliefs, which is the energy that's inherent in all things. It begins at the center of the universe and it radiates out infinitely. And everything has mana. Everything has energy. And the way by which we receive the energy as humans, right? We get it from water. We get it from our food. So it comes from, things in the soil. Whether we're eating the plants or fruits or vegetables that come out of the soil, or whether we're eating animals that ate from the soil. Either way, we are receiving that mana or that energy from our food, from our water. Oh, I found another one right here. There's a couple of other pumpkins. You can actually see how the tip of this one is starting to get broad. So you can see there, and look over here too, that other one right there, starting to get pumpkins. So that just warms my heart so much. We also have our tomatoes. I didn't put any cages, or what do you call that, for them to grow their vines upwards. I just let them grow. They droop over into the ground, that's fine. But I also did finally find a tomato as well. I don't know if you can see that little guy. See right there? There's a tomato in there too. So, hi Mom, I see ya. So one of the other really cool things too is, again, I didn't plant these relatives, I just threw this pumpkin in the dirt. But here is another set of squash, not in my flower bed at all. My thought is maybe a chipmunk or a squirrel or something had a couple seeds, maybe buried the seeds, and so now here we have squash kind of just growing everywhere. Even here too, I didn't plant these. The same thing happened. Oh look, marigolds. I didn't plant those there either. They're just kind of so the beautiful thing is, right, we can allow these things to grow. And all of the things that I showed you right now are things that I got from seed. But there's a lot of natural edibles here as well too, and that you probably have in your garden. So I wanted to highlight what we call oftentimes as a weed. So I'm going to show you this weed, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. So when we look into the garden here, you can see there, oh, see there's a horsefly enjoying it. But you can see this plant here. Now I'll give you a little bit of ways to identify what this is. This is probably growing if you have a sidewalk or concrete on your driveway or your walkway at home. You might see this growing out of the ground, out of the cracks of the concrete. It will generally grow really low, and it'll span out, like it'll radiate outwards. It'll grow really low. Like if you're looking at weeds here, I don't have any here. Oh, here. You can see it here. It's growing right in the cracks of the sidewalk. This is what we call purslane. But look at my purslane over here in the flower bed. That happened in a matter of a very short time, maybe 2 weeks. I generally pull out the things that grow here naturally. We have a lot of this, like, you can see here, this, I forgot what you call this, but this is like creeping everywhere. This I pull out. But this is considered a weed, again, purslane. So how do you identify it? First, you can identify it by seeing that the stems are kind of a reddish brownish color, and the stems are somewhat fat. The other way that you can identify purslane is that the leaves have like a tear shape, and they're smooth. This is actually a succulent type plant, so it does really well where there is like sandy soil. The soil doesn't need to be very rich. Like I said, this stuff grows in concrete, cracks of concrete. When you pluck the leaves, see, you can kind of see here it's waxy, and this is very, very edible. So I'm gonna eat this leaf, and I'm gonna tell you what it tastes like. So again, it tastes kind of like soury, lemony and salty at the same time. That's the flavor of it. Completely edible and actually very, very, very healthy. You also want to make sure that you're certain what the plant is before you eat it. Make sure that you really do your research. Talk to your friends who really know their plants. But what is awesome about purslane is that the stems, the leaves, the seeds, and the flowers are all edible. You can see the flower buds here. They haven't quite popped open just yet, but they will soon. When the flowers pop, they're just these beautiful, brightly colored yellow flowers. And when the plant goes to seed, the pods, when you open up the seed pods, are these tiny little black seeds. Oh, I think I found some actually. I found some seeds. Let me see. I can pluck it right here. Let me see if I can show you. So I'm going to put it here in the concrete. So I don't know if you can see that, but let me see if I can give you a good view. See, there's this tiny little seed pod, and you can maybe possibly see those very tiny, tiny little black seeds. Let me see if I can pick them up. Yep, you can see one of the black seeds on my fingertip. Now, interestingly enough, purslane has been used for thousands of years in Chinese medicine. When you read about the research of it, there's quite a bit of research resources on Google. You can find, you can find a lot of credible sources that talk about the benefits of it. Everything from digestion, for women who have, menstrual or uterine issues, it can help with that. And then also you can do some research on the benefits for tumors, throat issues, asthma. These are extremely, extremely rich in omega-3 fatty acids. In fact, one of the richest of all the greens that you can find, of any green that you can find. Also very, very high in vitamin A. This so-called weed actually has more benefits in it comparable to spinach, and a lot of leafy greens. So again, especially if you're vegan or vegetarian and you're looking at ways to get omega-3s, this can even have more omega-3s than fish oils. So it's just a weed right in her garden. Just a weed, right? The other thing about it too is you can eat it raw, you can juice it, you can, I'm just sitting here eating it raw as I speak, as I talked about all of our relatives. You can eat it raw, you can juice it, you can saute it, you can put it in soups. I have a friend who spends a lot of her time in Eastern Europe, in Albania. She says she's seen in Europe a lot that they'll actually put purslane and bake it right into the breads. Hi Jamie, good to see you. Our Community Engagement and Indigenous Affairs Director Jamie is here. You can catch Jamie tomorrow at around 3:30, between 3:30 and 4 p.m. as she does these beautiful videos on resilience and recovery. But you don't have to be in recovery to enjoy her videos. They're awesome anyway. I watch them when I can. So I'm sitting here eating my purslane. One of the interesting things about it is though, is because it's a succulent, it kind of has like a slightly, it has like a fatness to it. When you bite into it, it feels watery, but it can also be kind of slimy. So when you cook with it, if you need to thicken a soup, I found when I cook with it, it'll actually kind of give that thickener, that quality of thickness that like a cornstarch can do. But anyway, yeah, I didn't plant this at all. I was just let my garden grow as usual. You can see all sorts of stuff growing here, and I wanted to share this with you too. Again, taking a moment to honor our gardens. I don't have the prettiest garden. It's kind of ugly actually. Here's all my pulled weeds. But this, look at this. Relatives, do you know what this is? Do you know what that is? Shout out if you know, relatives. If you care to express and you know what it is, I'll kind of let you be able to look at the flowers so you might know, have a better idea. This is tobacco. And this is actually tobacco that was gifted to, the seeds were gifted to me by a friend who went to Standing Rock in North Dakota to protest for civil rights for our Native American brothers and sisters. And she brought me some seeds back. I planted it, just let it be. I don't even really water it. And there's where it came from seed. Now it's doing really well. And you can see how there's sort of flowers going around conically around the stem. And here's these beautiful white flowers, which I absolutely love. I'm so happy to have this plant. I really do cherish this one. This is one of my favorites. Over here, hiding in the corner, hiding underneath the marigolds, we have some bee balm. So I'm happy to have that. And these marigolds I started from seed. I got them from a seed packet. I got 3 packets for $1. I started them from seed indoor, and now they're just everywhere. I don't know what this is, but I think it's cool. It's fuzzy, could be a weed, maybe not. It looks like about in the top here it's gonna start to do something interesting, so I'll see. Relatives, if you know what any of this stuff is, feel free to let me know. I'm not quite sure. This looks like another type of, I have no clue what that is. I'll just be honest. Here's some more purslane. You can see it, it's kind of growing amongst the marigolds, and marigolds are good to keep away the mosquitoes. Really, when I planted these seeds, there was just a couple of them. Now the marigolds are just everywhere. And they just keep coming, so that's really cool. These are mums. They'll have beautiful flowers in the fall. And this is interesting too. This is a tomato plant, but I didn't plant it. I'm not quite sure how it got there. I don't know if something ate tomato and I don't know. I have no idea, but there's a tomato here, so I think that's super cool. There's also a squash plant that randomly ended up over here. You can see the squash flower. I think though that I think I accidentally killed it though. I think I accidentally pulled it out because I didn't realize there was a squash there because I didn't plant it there. And there it is. So it's interesting because I have such a small front yard. I have a very small lawn, and there's just so much life that's going on here all the time. And I think an important part for me when we're talking about, you know, the way that nature feeds us, we often hear our Indigenous elders tell us that the earth provided us with everything that we need. And I appreciate that so much. And the more we begin to look at those things that are called weeds, or look at the way that, you know, sometimes Western society kind of has us treat our lawn and our soil, I've decided to get away from that, because if we're receiving our energy and nourishment from the soil, from the water, and from our food, I try my best to leave it the way that the Creator made it for us. And that's just for me personally. I feel that that's part of how I approach my wellness. And if you have any insight on that, you're more than welcome to share how you feel about that. Jessica, aloha Jessica, she says, marigolds are said to be protesters of the garden. They keep the rabbits out of your vegetables. That's awesome. Thank you, Jessica. I've always heard that it's good to keep mosquitoes and insects away. But you know what? I don't think we've had I don't think anything's eating our fruit that's here. So that could very well be true. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that so much. Another thing that I found too, we have an elder neighbor in our neighborhood, and he was talking about how, you know, maybe we don't have enough bees, so we might struggle to find, you know, if we don't have pollinators. He was teaching me how to like self-pollinate our vegetables, but he did also talk about clover. And you can see this is kind of like, the clover here is dry, but oh, here's a clover flower. And I didn't know this about clover, but clover actually is really good for the soil. So I don't spray my lawn. I've just kind of let the clover go. And like I said, as you can see, I don't have the most beautiful, like it doesn't look manicured. But for me, it feels healing. It's just healing to know that the land is doing generally what it wants to do. It's healing to know that when I made the choice not to, you know, not to spray the lawn, not to throw away my fruits and veggies, I literally throw my, I have a compost bin, but if I have like an onion or a squash, I'll actually just throw it in my lawn. I have flower beds, so like, and this summer in spring, I had gorgeous spring onions, like gorgeous, more than farmer's market worthy. And I had these beautiful onions, and all I did would just choose to throw the butts in the dirt instead of in the ground. And when we do that, we can honor the cycle. We can honor that cycle, because our garbage, right, our natural garbage, really is just supposed to go to feeding the land. And it can be difficult too, because, you know, as modern people, we have to respect our neighbors, and we may have like laws on how, you know, how you might have to manicure your lawn or whatever you have to do. But I do what I can. And this is very healing for me. When we heal the earth, we can allow ourselves to come back into that natural cycle. We can honor that cycle. We can become part of it. And then it helps us too. It always helps us. So the more that we help the land, the Aina, the more that we help ourselves. So I'm hoping with this giant single pumpkin patch, remember, one pumpkin I threw in the dirt, made all this. And with all these flowers, I'm starting to see there's more pumpkins that are coming. I hope to be able to share this bounty with my friends and family this fall. I saw that too, Jessica. Yep, no worries. Yep, marigolds are to be the protectors of the garden. Relatives, just remember out there that our culture and who we are, our connection to our land space, let's remember that connection. That's how we honor our ancestors. That's how we honor the earth. That's how we honor each other. That's how we begin to heal the earth. If you want to, feel free to shout out your tribe, your clan, your chiefdom, your ancestry, where you come from. If you want to, feel free to shout that out. I will proudly say that I am a Native Hawaiian Indigenous woman. My ancestry is also Samoan, Tongan, Malaysian, Thai, German, Chinese, Finnish, Hungarian, Russian, Swedish, English, Welsh. And all those people, every generation that came before you, all of your ancestors, we can take a moment to honor them too. Because without our ancestors, we wouldn't be sitting here today. I want to say mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much for joining me as we take moments to honor our culture and our Aina, our land. Malama pono I kokino. Take good care of your body. Aloha nui. Much love to you and you and you and all our relatives out there. Ahui ho'aku no, everyone. We'll see you later. Aloha.